Perhaps it would have saved you the errors that you did that felt so bad. But there's no point flogging yourself. And I'll tell you why in a minute. In this video, I'll show you the prayers, the process, and the preparation for wisdom. You're about to learn why you must make mistakes before you can gain wisdom. Stick around. Hi, I'm Dr. Zoma and this is Soar Up. If you're new to this channel, please I'd like you to hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video drops. Don't forget the like button. Now let's dive right in. One of the most beautiful scriptures which I have come to love in these times is the book of James. The first few verses of the first chapter of James sets you in a mood, and I'll tell you why in a moment. You will understand, of course. Now let's read James chapter 1, verse 2 to 5, and you will understand the prayer, the process, and the preparation that you need to make to have wisdom. Now this is very important for you because you need wisdom at every point in your life. You need wisdom to excel in your career. You need wisdom to excel in your leadership. You need wisdom at all these points. So let's read. James chapter 1, verse 2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds. Verse 3. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Now that's the verse 5. Now let's understand what is the prayer here, and what's the process, and what's the preparation for the wisdom you want. Now right there in verse 5, you find a prayer. If anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously. The first thing you should have, even before you start asking, is your awareness of your lack. You've got to know that you lack wisdom. Because that prayer says, if anyone lacks wisdom. So, that you don't know is a problem. You've got to solve that problem first. You've got to know that you lack wisdom. So, that point sets you up for making that prayer. You've got to know. And even though everyone is permitted to ask for wisdom, it doesn't mean that everyone is prepared for the process, which we'll get onto later in this video. But let's talk about the prayer first. So you've got to know. Now the next thing is you've got to know who you would ask. You've got to know who you would ask. You don't just ask anybody. You don't just ask anybody. You've got to ask God, who gives generously. That's the point. Because unless you ask God, who gives generously, any other person can set you up for failure. You've got to ask God, who gives generously. That you know you need wisdom, but you don't know who to ask, is still a problem. You're still in a rut. So you've got to ask God. Alright? Okay, so the benefit of asking God is that when He brings the wisdom which you prayed for, you would know you asked for it. As opposed to asking every other person for wisdom. They may set you up for failure. Now the amazing thing about this text which we read is that it sets the process even before the prayer. And we'll see the process in a minute. But now you've seen the prayer. So let's look at the process. What is the process for getting wisdom? What is that? Is there even a process in the first place? I mean, Will there be a process to get wisdom? If he gives it generously, he should give me at any point in time. But that's not how this thing works. There is a process, and I'll show you how the process goes. So the verse 2 says, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. That got me thinking. It got me thinking real hard. How do you consider it pure joy when you're faced with diverse or trials of many kinds? How do you consider it pure joy? It's like somebody walking up to you and giving you a pen and say, consider this a sword when you face an enemy. Or you remember back in the days when soldiers, military men used to go to war with swords, and then someone hands you a pen and say, consider this a sword. For me, the first question I would want to ask is, why should I consider it a sword? Why should I consider this pen a sword? And he says, because you know this. Which means that this is something you must know if you will consider it pure joy. That is, there's something you must know for you to consider the trials that you face as a thing of joy. And what is that? It is that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Another translation puts it as patience. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance finish her work, that you may be mature and complete. You may want to ask, why faith? Why does my faith have to be tried before I could get wisdom? Why does it have to be that way? It is because faith is your unwavering conviction and your exertion in the direction of that conviction until the desired result is achieved. So your faith has to be tested. If you're looking for wisdom in a particular area of your life, your faith in that area of your life has to be tested. Your conviction has to be tested. Your exertion in the direction of that conviction has to be proven. It has to be proven. So God wants to know that you have faith strong enough to get wisdom. So he tests your faith. This faith which has been tested produces perseverance, and unless you stop the perseverance from going on, you're bound to arrive at wisdom. Because he said, let perseverance finish its work, that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. Which means that wisdom eventually comes. It comes eventually, but it has to come through this route. So your faith becomes tested, it produces perseverance, then perseverance continues until you mature and complete. That's amazing, very amazing if you ask me. Very amazing. So to get wisdom after you've prayed, your faith has to be tested through this process. You would be required to jump off the cliff even before you open your parachute. You will be required to step out of your comfort zone. And unless you're willing to do these, you will get nothing. No wisdom. It's important for you to be willing to lose so you can learn how not to lose. Very, very important. And I need you to know that. Now, did you also notice that the verse 4 of our text says, so that you may be mature and complete? Does it not agree with the fact that wisdom usually comes with age. Now, I'm not saying that every elderly person is a wise person, but I'm just saying that it usually comes with age, because then you're mature. Of course, you're mature. Now, I know someone may be saying, how about King Solomon? He was a wise young man. Not so fast. King Solomon was a wise young man. But I needed to know also that he had men who were described as wise old men who had served his father the king even before he became king. These men served in the courts of the king, his father, before he became king. And even while he was king, they served him. Now, if he was so wise that he had no need of these men, what was the need of having them? Even Solomon's wisdom had to be proven by the wise men. So you jump out to start in that area of life where you have interest and you got scammed. There's a test of your faith that should produce perseverance. You don't give up because you got scammed. You don't give up because you lost the first time. You should go again. Try again. Try again. You can only prove yourself with perseverance. Try again. The problem is most people spoil the work even before perseverance finishes. They just terminate the work before perseverance can even finish its work in their lives. You don't want that. I mean, you don't want that. It's pretty much like a man building a house and then halfway he stops. He's unable to finish the house which he started to build. And what does it even mean that people spoil the work before perseverance can finish? What does that even mean? It means that they sign up to start something, and just before they get to the finish line, they sign out. Oh, I'm done. I ain't getting the results I want. And then they start another thing, and before they get 10 miles into it, they sign out. So altogether they have 10 things which they have started but never finished any one of them. That is what it means to spoil the work even before perseverance can finish. It's pretty much like building a house and stopping halfway. When people walk by, they will want to ask themselves, what kind of man is this who starts a house and never finishes it? So you want to be sure that you commit to whatever you're doing now and commit to it even until you reach the finish line. That's the only way. That's the only way. If you don't commit till you reach the finish line, you're going to develop a lot of bad habits and eventually you will get no wisdom. Why is this bad? It's bad because you've already asked for wisdom, and this is the process for the wisdom you asked for. There's no other way but this way. So your faith has to be tested in that area, and it produces perseverance. The perseverance has to drag until it takes you to the finish line where you're mature and complete. Let me tell you the story of Albert Einstein. As a young student, Albert was not an exceptional student. He was close to the top of the class only because he excelled in mathematics and physics. But he was not exceptional. Then he left and got into a higher institution, the Zurich Polytechnic at that time. Yet he was not exceptional. In fact, Albert skipped classes he didn't like. And even for classes he took, he literally wrote nothing. He had to copy his classmates' note. Marcel Grossman. Now, after they graduated, Albert didn't get a job for a couple of years until the father of his friend, Marcel Grossman, employed him into the patent office. It was at the patent office was where he began to develop his acumen as we know it today. Because there he was in charge of reviewing patents for new inventions. Now guess what that experience did to that young man? So I'm telling you, there is a process that you have to go through. There is a process that you have to go through. It doesn't change. You have to go through it to arrive at a finish line. Now let's talk about the preparation for wisdom. How do you prepare for wisdom? Number one is mindset. You have to keep an open mind for everything that would come your way. The moment you pray for wisdom, you have to keep an open mind. There are things that will come your way. It may not look sweet, but those things are the things that will prepare you even for the wisdom you've asked for. So keep an open mind. An open mind helps you. Number two is your skill set. You have to develop a good skill set. And what do I mean by that? You have to engage yourself to read more, listening to more tapes, watching videos, very interesting videos in that area of your choice. Those are the things you do to expand your tool set so you gain more knowledge in that area. Because wisdom is applicable knowledge, you have to gain knowledge first, knowledge that can be applied. So knowledge is part of your tool set. It's part of your tool set. Now these are the prayers, the process, and the preparation you will need for you to get wisdom. Now if you're new to this channel, like I said before, please subscribe and also hit that notification bell so you get notified when the next video drops. Do well to share this video with as many friends of yours as possible. Till I come your way next time. Peace.